You are watching the last hour of Jezebel, Queen of Israel. The horsemen are already stamping in her courtyard, and the queen who killed 100 prophets is painting her face. She will not run, and 3 words are riding toward her gate. Before the window, she was a girl in Sidon, daughter of King Ethbaal, priest of Baal, who wore a crown. Her father's name means Baal is living, and she learned the storm god's incense like a child learns sawdust. Ahab took her to wife as a treaty, and she came with her gods packed like treasure. Altars to Baal rose in the capital, and prophets of the true God began to disappear. The ivory house of Ahab gleamed in Samaria, paid for by her father's harbor. Why would a queen with a back door open choose to paint her face instead? That choice is the whole story. She cut off the Lord's prophets by the 100, and a man of God became a hunted animal. Obadiah, the king's own steward, hid 100 prophets in 2 caves and fed them bread and water. Meanwhile, 850 prophets of Baal ate at her table while the people drifted between 2 opinions. Raised to believe her father spoke for heaven, she would not bend easily. Nobody ever asks who was eating at the queen's table while God's prophets hid in caves. The number will shock you. The Lord shut the sky for 3 years to prove that Baal could not make it drizzle. Elijah gathered all Israel on Mount Carmel, 1 man against 450 prophets of Baal. They called and cut themselves until the blood gushed, and there was no answer. Elijah soaked his altar, prayed once, and the fire of the Lord fell and licked up the trench. The people fell on their faces and shouted, "The Lord, He is the God," and the prophets were slain. Ahab went home and told the queen, and the news did not soften her, it hardened her. You thought the killing of the prophets was the worst of her, but her quietest crime is the one that sealed her doom. Then Jezebel sent word to Elijah the prophet, "Let the gods do so to me, if I make not thy life as one of them by tomorrow." The man who called down fire read her letter, and he ran for his life into the wilderness. That is the woman at the window, and her face was forged in that one threat. Then came Naboth and his vineyard, and the biggest sin began. With a kitchen garden, the king wanted the ground beside his palace, but Naboth said, "The Lord forbid I give the inheritance of my fathers." Ahab went home and sulked on his bed, and the queen laughed at her king. She wrote letters under the king's seal, set to false witnesses, and had Naboth stoned. Elijah met Ahab walking in the stolen vines and said, "Hast thou killed and also taken possession? In the place where dogs licked the blood of Naboth shall dogs lick thy blood, and the dogs shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel." You thought the sentence was spoken and finished, but the sentence waited 20 years, and the waiting changes everything. Ahab tore his robes and walked softly, and God postponed the blow to his son's days. But mercy is a door you have to walk through, and Jezebel never once looked at it. Ahab died at Ramoth-Gilead by a random arrow, and the dogs licked his blood in Samaria. Down in a war camp, a young prophet poured oil on the head of a furious captain. Jehu, "The dogs shall eat Jezebel in the portion of Jezreel, and there shall be none to bury her." The word had waited for years, and now it had a hand attached to it. Hold on, because there is a detail in the window scene almost everyone reads past, and it changes who threw her down. Jehu rode furiously to Jezreel, and the watchman knew his driving from a distance. Jeram met him in the field of Naboth, the very patch of stolen ground. What peace, so long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many. The arrow pierced the king's heart, and his body was cast into Naboth's field. Word ran ahead of the horses, and the queen heard that her son was dead. She did not run, she did not hide, she painted her face and looked out the window. Jehu lifted his face and asked, "Who is on my side?" Her own servants looked out from beside her, waiting for his word. He gave the order, 3 words that ended her long reign. Throw her down. Her blood struck the wall. The horses trampled her, and only skull and feet and palms remained. And if you leave before the final 60 seconds, you will miss why her name is still spoken in the last book of the Bible. Elijah named the place the wall of Jezreel and the manor. The dogs shall eat her. Years later the word came true to the letter, not close, not roughly, exactly. Delay is not denial, and the slowness of justice is not the absence of justice. The sentence spoken in 1 Kings fell in 2 Kings, a generation apart. Centuries later, the Spirit warns the church at Thyatira against a woman called Jezebel. The God who remembered a murdered farmer's vineyard for a generation remembers you. If you are waiting on a word that seems slow, you are not forgotten, you are seen. If you walked the whole road with me, drop one word. In the comments, just watched, then tell me the story you want next, and the most requested becomes our next film. Like this video, subscribe to Biblical Historicult, and share this with someone waiting on a word. Keep trusting, and remember the wall that heaven never forgot. God bless you.
God bless you.